A question about visas, the whole country was shocked. Why she didn't attack anyone, just asked, why do some people have to wait 15 years and others don't? They told her to be quiet. She chose to speak up, and then everyone was silent. If you think the system is fair, this story will make you think differently. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's Take My Question. Their silence and the truth we can't ignore. Look, I ain't here to play games or kiss up to anybody. I'm Jasmine Crockett, your congresswoman from Texas, and when I stepped into that cool-toned studio on Good Morning America with Corbin Orrick smiling at me like we're besties, I knew what was coming. Bright lights, navy and glass set countdown clock hitting 0, I was ready. Corbin starts with the usual Good Morning America, let's talk immigration reform, public trust, doing it the right way. Fine. I'm seated, black blazer, sharp hair, pulled back posture, composed. I nod, none of that fake smile mess. I'm here to work. We get into the basics, bipartisan bill stalled in the Senate, crisis at the southern border. I'm laying it out, no fluff. Numbers, facts, my visit to El Paso, families stuck in motel rooms for months with no legal help. Corbin's nodding, pushing a little, but I'm holding my ground. Then, at the 11-minute mark, he glances at his notes, voice dropping low. The First Lady shared her immigration story at a fundraiser in Pennsylvania, saying she's proof that following the law gets you the American dream. That's resonating with voters. What's your take? There it is. The trap. I pause half a second, just enough to let him know I clocked it. Hands fold tighter in my lap. I lean forward, eyes steady. Well, Corbin, we keep hearing Melania Trump's story as the gold standard, but nobody talks about how she got here. She got an EB-1 visa, you know, the kind usually for Nobel Prize winners, Olympians, world-class surgeons. Unless modeling got reclassified as a national interest exemption. I think the American people deserve transparency before we prop her up as the shining example. Corbin stiffens, smile tight. You're suggesting she didn't earn it? I don't flinch. I'm saying the system's tilted. My constituents fill out every form, pay every fee, get every shot, and still wait 10-15 years just to hug their grandma. Meanwhile, someone with international connections jumps the line, no questions asked. Silence. On live TV, that's an eternity. Producers cut to a wide shot, but you could feel the tension through the screen. That wasn't the answer they wanted, but it's the truth I'm given. Corbin tries to smooth it over. Some might say you're politicizing the First Lady's background for leverage. I shoot back, I'm not attacking her. I'm criticizing a system that pretends everybody starts from the same place. We don't. And if we don't admit that, we can't fix nothing. Feed cuts to commercial, but nobody's forgetting what just happened. Not that day, not for a long while. Back from break, Corbin's tone is slicker, but his eyes he's thrown. I notice the shift questions get abstract, less policy, more philosophy, like my critique spooked everybody. Still, I'm steady. The live chat's blowing up, supportive and hostile, but I ain't checking it. Corbin reads off the teleprompter, careful now. Many Americans feel overwhelmed by immigration caravans on TV, drugs at the border. Then they hear Melania Trump speak and think, see, it's possible to come legally. Isn't it helpful to highlight stories like hers? I inhale sharp. Here we go. That's the problem, Corbin. We cherry-pick feel-good anecdotes to shut down hard conversations. Melania's story ain't just rare, it's opaque. Nobody knows who filed her paperwork, who vouched for her extraordinary talent, or why it moved so fast. Meanwhile, working-class families trying to reunite with their kids are stuck in a legal maze for years. He raises an eyebrow, all performative. You questioning her legitimacy to be here, I don't blink. I'm questioning how her story's used and the silence around parts that don't fit the fairy tale. We can't use one person's privilege as a stand-in for a system that punishes the poor. Camera zooms in. I'm calm, no raised voice, just staring straight like I'm talking to y'all at home, not him. Outside it's early, but folks are reacting. Twitter's popping like popcorn clips spreading fast. In Trenton, New Jersey, a DACA recipient named Marisol watches on a cracked phone screen her little brother whispering, "She's talking about us, huh?" She nods. Yeah, she is. Back in the studio, Corbin's trying to regain control. Surely you agree, legal immigration should be celebrated when it works, I hit back. When it really works, not when it's rigged for a few and impossible for everybody else. You know how many folks been waiting 10 years for a visa interview? They following the rules too. He pushes, some will say you're stirring resentment, making the First Lady's story personal. I lean in now, voice sharp but level. You want to know what's personal, watching your mama die of cancer? 'Cause she couldn't get health insurance while waiting on a green card. Watching your neighbor get deported after 20 years for one missed check-in. Being told a billionaire's wife got a genius visa while your cousin's denied for being too poor. That ain't just personal, that's the system. Silence again. Corbin blinks, says let's take a quick pause, but it's too late. The spark's caught. By the time commercials air, my name's trendin' in 23 states. Clips are subtitled, reposted everywhere. Real folks are noddin' in kitchens, break rooms, bus stops. But in D.C., not everybody's clappin'. Some are already plotting a response. Back from break. Corbin's smile don't reach his eyes. He's careful now. Let's talk tone. You're direct, unapologetic. Some admire it. Others say it adds to polarization. What do you say to critics who think today's remarks went too far? I breathe slow. I didn't come here to start a fire, but I ain't gonna sit in front of the American public and pretend all immigrants are treated equal just to keep things polite. I turn to the camera, no spin. This is bigger than Melania Trump. I ain't attacking her character. I'm asking why her story's framed as heroic while millions doing everything right are treated like criminals. If that makes folks uncomfortable, maybe they should ask why. Studio goes still. Even Corbin don't push back this time. Behind the scenes, it's chaos. Viewer comments flooding, analytics spiking. In Bakersfield, a Vietnamese man named Than watches on his tablet, muttering she say the truth. His wife May nods. She brave. Corbin tries steering us back to legislation. If you had the votes tomorrow, what's your immigration reform look like? I smile, for the first time grounded. Fair timelines, no more 10-year waits for interviews. No more kids aging out because the system's slow. Humane enforcement, more judges, translators, pathways that don't need you to be a millionaire or supermodel to qualify. He raises his brows. You're saying immigration's a class issue. I'm straight up. It's always been a class issue, but we pretend it's just paperwork. It's about who gets the benefit of the doubt and who don't. That gets clipped to spreading before the broadcast ends. Then a producer hands Corbin a paper. He reads it, folds it, looks at me neutral. We've got a statement from the First Lady's office. She's proud of her legal journey, won't respond to politically motivated attacks designed to sow division. I blink slow, lean forward. I didn't attack her. I asked a question. If that's divisive, maybe we should ask who's really uncomfortable with transparency. Corbin wraps it up. We appreciate your time. I nod, unhook my mic. The screen fades to a cooking demo, but nobody's watching that. The clip's viral. Politicians, texting aides, radio hosts warming up mics. I triggered a debate I ain't walking away from. Back at my office, my phone's blowing up before I leave the studio lot. Texts from reps, screenshots, videos from kids in Michigan, bartenders in Arizona. My comms director Dana's by the elevator, face tight. You trended in under 6 minutes. No, 3 nationally, no 1 in California, Texas, even Idaho. I arch a brow. Idaho. She shrugs, internet's weird. We step in stack of tweets on the table, support in green, criticism in red, threats in orange. Threats already, it's the internet, Dana says. Don't wait for context. She plays the worst conservative anchors, calling it a smear. A senator tweeting foreign wives off limits, a Tampa host saying I disrespected the First Lady's femininity, whatever that means. I shake my head. Anything useful, Dana flips to green. Immigration lawyers flooding threads with EB1 facts. TikTok stitching my clip with visa denial stories. Latino, African, Asian communities reposting with finally someone said it. I nod slow. The noise is building, but it's recognition, not just anger. In Tucson, Reina Morales, whose husband got deported, replays my voice in a break room, murmuring, she said it. It's rigged. We ain't crazy. In Boston, a Nigerian engineer smiles tight. They want immigrants quiet and grateful, even with 3 degrees. In Oklahoma City, a white woman in her 60s rewinds my clip, whispering, it wasn't this hard for us. My inbox overflows, pastors, students, paralegals. One's just a photo of a family at a courthouse, subject waiting, still waiting. Dana pulls her laptop. Invites from the View MSNBC podcast, they want you tomorrow. I breathe out. I ain't doing a victory lap. She blinks. This ain't that. It's follow-through. You crack something open. But I know this is where most mess up, when attention drowns the cause. Pushback's louder too. Anonymous posts calling me anti-woman, YouTube, twisting my words, district office calls, doubled, half angry, most out of state. Still, I don't back down. A border agent clip surfaces, anonymous, saying visa preference goes to wealth or fame. It ain't fair, but it's real. My words hit harder. Melania nothing. No statements, no retweets, just her last post. I followed the rules. That's what makes this country great. Silence ain't neutral when the room's loud. The longer she's quiet, the more folks ask why she ain't defending the specifics, why her EB1 ain't explained. For every cheer I get, eyes are waiting for me to slip. Monday morning fog over the Potomac, tension thicker than the gray sky. My chief of staff, Edwin, closes the door. Still nothing from her office. I pour coffee. That ain't nothing. That's strategy. He nods. Or damage control. They think if they stay quiet, I'll burn out in the spotlight. Party leadership's given long glances at meetings donors want reassurance I ain't on a personal crusade. I smirk. Tell him it's a truth crusade. Edwin ain't smiling. He writes six-figure checks. I pause nod, I'm sure. Across town, Melania's team's nervous. Her comms director says, my moment ain't dying silence, creating more questions visa timeline sponsor specifics. Melania shuts it down. Let them pick. They won't find anything. But aides whisper, if there's nothing to hide, why not show the paperwork? Back in my office, Dana bursts in. FOIA denial on the visa records. USCIS blocked it without her permission. I narrow my eyes. Convenient. Edwin grunts or planned. I know what's next, pressure from inside and out, colleagues asking me to pivot, donors pulling support, journalists digging. If they can't find dirt on her, they'll turn on me. I ain't scared, but I didn't expect a journalist in Phoenix, Kendra Zoe, to get a tip on EB1 timelines showing Melania's fast track don't add up. Her blog post drops no accusations, just facts. Reddit explodes, lawyers weigh in, even conservatives admit it's about transparency. Why can't we review her file? Melania's silence looks like avoidance now. I don't gloat, don't tweet. I tell Edwin and Dana we don't chase it. Let the truth come to us. Outside, a protest forms peaceful signs reading fair means fair. I watch face unreadable, but threats creep closer. A handwritten note in Dallas. Stay in your lane or we'll put you back in it. My aide's voice cracks, showing it over video call. I lock my jaw. Security seen it sent to Capitol Police. This ain't just online noise. Edwin notices I ain't sleeping or eating. We made a dent. Maybe pivot housing infrastructure. I pull files. If we let it breathe, it dies. The system banks on that. I ain't giving them the clock. Calls get worse. A staffer's tires slashed. I pause, fingers curling on my desk. They think they warning me, but they proven my point. Some are protected, others punished. At a Fort Worth town hall, I step out, no script, just the room. This ain't about one visa. It's about power, who deserves to be here. A man in khakis raises his hand, voice low. If the system's broken, why not tear it down instead of dragging good people's names through the mud? Tension shifts. I meet his eyes. Asking a question ain't dragging nobody. It's attacking how her story shuts everyone else out. You think that's the same? He smiles slight. You're dividing people. I step forward. What divides us is pretending we all start equal. My path and yours weren't lit the same. If we don't admit that we keep lying, that struggling means you didn't try hard enough. He walks out. A kid films it. Posts it, 1 million views by morning. My line, some get doors, others get gates, hits raw. Comments flood with stories, nurses waiting 18 years, dads deported over paperwork. News runs it on loop. My office gets 342 media requests in an afternoon. I don't bite. Instead, I'm at a community center in Arlington, no cameras, just constituents. A Guatemalan mom talks 7-year visa waits, an Afghan translator stumbles through delays. I listen, take notes, promise follow-up. Dana hands me coffee. You could go viral weekly and not fix this. I look up. Then I won't stop till someone does. By week's end, I'm a litmus test. Cable news debates if I went too far, but my refusal to chase fame gives me cred. In Seattle, a lawyer petitions for EB1 data. In Minneapolis, a Somali center dedicates an open mic to immigrant stories thanking me. Even conservative corners crack. A columnist says, the visa system's a black box. Nobody likes that. Colleagues lean in, repertoire, Bryson texts, thank you, it needed saying. A former USCIS officer writes, I processed 4,000 cases. If Crockett's asking, she's right too. We all are. White House tension's thick. Melania's quiet, but it ain't poise no more, it's deflection. I push a transparency bill, public criteria for high-level visas, timeline stats. It won't pass now, but it's a marker. A father from Fresno calls my Dallas office. My daughter saw your clip, was quitting law school, thought nobody cared about folks like us. She changed her mindset. If they're listening, she'd better speak. I listened twice, sit quiet. All the threats, turn down interviews, donors walk, and it adds up to something worth carrying. At a committee hearing, I'm asked, regret how far it's gone? I lean into the mic. I regret we gotta fight this hard for a fair question. But no, I don't regret saying it out loud. On Capitol Hill closing remarks for my bill, I stand at the podium chamber full, not for votes but curiosity. I've been called divisive, disrespectful, unpatriotic for asking why rules don't apply equal. I've been told to stay quiet, that asking about an EB1 visa is personal. But what's personal is waiting 12 years for your mama because your job ain't exceptional. Watching your kid miss birthdays because paperwork stalled. Being told to prove you belong after 15 years of taxes. I pause, voice low but heavy. I didn't ask about one visa to tear nobody down. I asked because millions are told their sacrifices ain't enough, their dreams, too small jobs, too normal families, too complicated. When someone with fame skips a process, others barely survive, and we're told to clap, that ain't unity, it's erasure. Some shift, stare at the floor. This bill says the process should be public, clear, traceable. Nobody hides behind privilege, calling it the American way. I didn't come to be safe. I came to tell the truth. No ovation, just silence, the kind that means they heard even if they won't say it. Bill fails in committee, but a law student starts a database for visa inconsistencies paralegals join. Transparency ain't law, but it's moving. Melania's still quiet, and now folks ain't asking if she followed rules, they asking who else had to, and why nobody questioned it till now. This ain't just my story no more. It's Marisol in Trenton, then in Bakersfield, Raina in Tucson. That girl in Fresno whose dad called to say thanks. It's a question that can't be ignored. And questions, when they stick, change things. If this hits you deep, don't let it stop. Share it, talk it, ask your own. Truth don't need a spotlight, just someone brave enough to say it out loud. We started with the basics, the stuff everybody's heard before but needs to hear again. There's a bipartisan bill stuck in the Senate going nowhere fast while the crisis at the southern border keeps getting worse. I laid it out plain and simple, no fluff, just facts. I talked numbers, hard data, and my recent trip to El Paso, where I saw families crammed into motel rooms for months, no legal help in sight, just stuck in limbo. Corbin nodded along, pushing back a little here and there, but I held my ground. I wasn't budging. Then about 11 minutes in, he glanced down at his notes, his voice dropping a little lower, like he was setting up for something big. The First Lady shared her immigration story at a fundraiser in Pennsylvania recently, saying she's living proof that following the law can lead to the American dream. That's hitting home with a lot of voters. What's your take on that, Congresswoman? Boom. There it was, the trap. I paused for half a second, just long enough to let him know I saw it coming. My hands folded tighter in my lap. I leaned forward, eyes locked on him. Well, Corbin, we keep hearing Melania Trump's story trotted out like it's the gold standard of immigration. But let's be real, nobody's talking about the details of how she got here. She got an EB-1 visa, you know, the kind usually reserved for Nobel Prize winners, Olympic athletes, or world-class brain surgeons. Now, unless modeling suddenly became a matter of national interest, I think the American people deserve a little transparency before we hold her up as the poster child for doing it the right way. Corbin stiffened up real quick, his smile getting tight like he just bit into a lemon. So you're suggesting she didn't earn that visa, he shot back. I didn't even flinch. What I'm saying is the system's tilted, Corbin. My constituents, the folks I fight for every day, they fill out every single form, pay every fee, get every shot in the arm, and still wait 10, 15 years just to see their grandma for a weekend. Meanwhile, someone with the right international connections seems to skip the line. No questions asked. That's not fair, and we gotta call it out. Silence hit the studio like a brick. On live TV, that quiet feels like forever. The producers cut to a wide shot, probably trying to diffuse the tension, but you could feel it crackling through the screen. That wasn't the answer they were fishing for, but it's the truth I came to deliver. Corbin tried to smooth things over, keeping his cool. Some folks might say you're politicizing the First Lady's background just to score points. I fired right back. I'm not attacking her personally. I'm calling out a system that acts like everybody starts on the same playing field when we know that ain't true. If we don't face that head on, we can't fix a damn thing. Boom. The feed cut to commercial real quick after that, but ain't nobody forgetting what just went down. Not that day, and not for a long time after. When we came back from break, Corbin's tone was slicker, more cautious, but I could see it in his eyes. He was thrown off. The questions shifted, getting more abstract, less about hard policy, and more about big-picture philosophy, like my critique had spooked the whole room. I stayed steady, though. The live chat online was blowing up, split between folks cheering me on and others throwing shade, but I wasn't checking it. Corbin read off the teleprompter, treading carefully now. A lot of Americans feel overwhelmed by immigration, seeing caravans on TV, hearing about drugs crossing the border. Then they hear Melania Trump speak and think, look, it's possible to come here legally. Isn't it helpful to highlight stories like hers? I took a sharp breath. Here we go again. That's exactly the problem, Corbin. We cherry-pick these feel-good stories to avoid the tough conversations. Melania's journey ain't just rare, it's murky. Nobody knows who filed her paperwork, who vouched for her so-called extraordinary talent, or why her process moved at lightning speed. Meanwhile, working-class families trying to reunite with their kids are trapped in a legal maze for years on end. He raised an eyebrow, putting on that fake surprised look. Are you questioning her legitimacy to even be here? I didn't blink. I'm questioning how her story gets spun and why the messy parts that don't fit the fairy tale are swept under the rug. We can't keep using one person's privilege as proof the system works for everybody when it clearly don't. The camera zoomed in tight on me. I stayed calm, no yelling, just looking straight ahead like I'm talking directly to y'all at home, not just him. Outside the studio, it was still early, but folks were already reacting. Twitter was popping off like crazy, clips of my words spreading faster than wildfire. In Trenton, New Jersey, a DACA recipient named Marisol watched on her cracked phone screen, her little brother whispering, "She's talking about us, right?" Marisol nodded. "Yeah, she sure is." Back in the studio, Corbin was trying to wrestle back control of the convo. Surely you'd agree that legal immigration should be celebrated when it works. I hit him with, only when it really works, not when it's rigged for a select few and damn near impossible for everyone else. Do you know how many folks I've met who've been waiting a decade just for a visa interview? They're following the rules too, but where's their celebration? He pushed harder. Some are going to say you're stirring up resentment, making the First Lady's story personal. I leaned in closer, my voice sharp but controlled. You want to talk personal? Personal is watching your mama die of cancer because she couldn't get health insurance while waiting on a green card. Personal is seeing your neighbor deported after 20 years over one missed court date. Personal is hearing a billionaire's wife got a genius visa while your cousin gets denied for being too poor to afford a lawyer. That ain't just personal, that's the whole damn system. Silence again. Corbin blinked, muttered, "Let's take a quick pause," but it was too late. The spark was lit and it wasn't going out. By the time the commercials rolled, my name was trending in 23 states. Clips of the interview were everywhere, subtitled, "Reposted Dissected." Real folks were nodding along in their kitchens at bus stops in break rooms across the country. But in D.C., not everyone was clapping. Some were already scheming on how to spin this against me. Back from break, Corbin's smile didn't even reach his eyes. He was extra careful now. "Let's talk about your tone, Congresswoman. You're direct, unapologetic. Some admire that. Others say it's fueling polarization. What do you say to critics who think your remarks today crossed a line?" I took a slow breath, keeping my cool. I didn't come here to start a fire for the sake of drama, but I'm also not going to sit in front of the American people and pretend all immigrants get treated the same just to keep things polite. I turned straight to the camera, no filter. This ain't about Melania Trump as a person. I'm not attacking who she is. I'm asking why her story gets framed as some heroic triumph while millions of folks doing everything by the book are treated like they're breaking the law. If that makes some folks uncomfortable, maybe they need to ask themselves why. The studio went dead quiet. Even Corbin didn't push back this time. Behind the scenes, it was pure chaos. Viewer comments flooding in, analytics spiking through the roof. In Bakersfield, California, a Vietnamese man named Than watched on his tablet, muttering to himself, "She's speaking the truth." His wife, May, nodded. "She's got guts. Corbin tried steering us back to safer ground, focusing on legislation. If you had the votes tomorrow, what would your immigration reform plan look like?" I cracked my first smile of the morning, feeling grounded. Fair timelines, no more decade-long waits just for an interview. No more kids a gin out of eligibility because the system drags its feet. Humane enforcement, more judges, more translators, and real pathways that don't require you to be a millionaire or a supermodel to even stand a chance. He raised his brows, playing up the reaction. "So you're saying immigration is a class issue?" I didn't hesitate. "It's always been a class issue, Corbin, but we act like it's just about paperwork. It's really about who gets the benefit of the doubt and who gets the door slammed in their face." That line got clipped and shared before the broadcast even wrapped. Then a producer slipped Corbin a piece of paper. He read it, folded it up, and looked at me with a neutral face. "We've just received a statement from the First Lady's office. She says she's proud of her legal journey and won't respond to politically motivated attacks meant to sow division." I blinked, slow, leaned forward. I didn't attack her. I asked a question. If asking for clarity is divisive, maybe we should be asking who's really afraid of transparency here. Corbin wrapped things up quick after that. "Congresswoman, we appreciate your time." I nodded, unhooked my mic, and that was that. The screen faded to some cooking demo, but let's be real, nobody was watching that. The clip was already viral. Politicians were texting their aides, radio hosts were warming up their mics. I'd sparked a debate and I wasn't backing down from it. Back at my office, my phone was blowing up before I even left the studio lot. Texts from other reps, screenshots of tweets, videos from kids in Michigan, bartenders in Arizona, all reacting. My comms director, Dana, met me by the elevator, her face tight. You trended in under 6 minutes. 3 nationally known, 1 in California, Texas, even freaking Idaho. I raised a brow. Idaho. She shrugged, hey, the internet's weird. We stepped into the office and there was a stack of printed tweets on the table, support marked in green, criticism in red, and threats highlighted in orange. Threats already. It's the internet, Dana said with a sigh. Folks don't wait for context. She played me the worst of it, conservative anchors, calling my words a smear, a senator tweeting that foreign wives are off limits, and some Tampa radio host claiming I disrespected the First Lady's femininity, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. I shook my head, unimpressed. Anything worth reading? Dana flipped to the green stack. Immigration lawyers are flooding threads with EB-1 visa facts. TikTokers are stitching your clip with their own visa denial stories, and Latino, African, and Asian communities are reposting with captions like, finally someone said it. I nodded slow. The noise was building, but it wasn't just anger, it was recognition. In Tucson, Arizona, Reina Morales, whose husband got deported last year, replayed my clip in a break room, whispering to herself, she said it. It's rigged. We ain't crazy for thinking that. In Boston, a Nigerian engineer smirked tight, muttering, they want immigrants quiet and grateful even when we've got 3 degrees. In Oklahoma City, a white woman in her 60s rewound my segment saying under her breath, it wasn't this hard for us back then. My inbox was overflowing messages from pastors, students, paralegals. One email just had a photo of a family standing outside a courthouse subject line waiting. Still waiting. Dana pulled up her laptop. You've got invites from The View, MSNBC, a bunch of podcasts they want you on tomorrow. I let out a breath. I ain't doing no victory lap. She looked at me surprised. This ain't about that. It's about follow-through. You cracked something open today. But I know this is where most folks mess up when the attention drowns out the cause. The pushback was getting louder, too. Anonymous posts online called me anti-woman, YouTube channels twisted my words into something I never said, and calls to my district office doubled, half of them angry, most from out of state. Still, I wasn't backing down. Then a clip surfaced from an anonymous border agent saying flat out that visa preference often goes to wealth or fame. It ain't fair, but it's how it works, he said. That just made my words hit even harder. As for Melania, radio silence. No new statements, no retweets, just her last post hanging there. I followed the rules. That's what makes this country great. But silence ain't neutral when the room's this loud. The longer she stayed quiet, the more folks started asking why she wasn't defending the specifics of her story, why the details of her EB-1 visa weren't being explained. For every bit of support I got, there were just as many eyes waiting for me to slip up. Monday morning rolled around, fog hanging over the Potomac, the tension thicker than the gray sky. My chief of staff, Edwin, closed the door behind him. Still nothing from her office. I poured a cup of coffee unfazed. That ain't nothing. That's a strategy. He nodded. Or damage control. They're banking on me burning out under the spotlight if they just stay quiet long enough. Party leadership's given me long looks in meetings, donors wanting reassurance that I ain't on some personal vendetta. I smirked. Tell him it's a truth vendetta. Edwin didn't laugh. This guy writes 6-figure checks, Jasmine. I paused, nodded. I'm sure he does. A crosstown word is Melania's team is getting nervous. Her comms director's saying my moment ain't dying down, and their silence is just creating more questions about the visa timeline, the sponsors, the specifics. Melania reportedly shut it down, saying, let them dig. They won't find anything. But her aides are whispering. If there's nothing to hide, why not just release the paperwork? Back in my office, Dana burst in with an update. FOIA request on the visa records got denied. USCIS blocked it without her permission. I narrowed my eyes. Convenient. Edwin grunted or planned. I knew what was coming next, pressure from all sides. Colleagues asking me to pivot to safer topics, donors threatening to pull support, journalists digging for dirt. If they can't find anything on her, they'll turn their shovels on me. I ain't scared, but I didn't see it coming when a journalist in Phoenix, Kendra Zoe, got a tip about EB-1 timelines showing Melania's fast-track process don't add up. Kendra's blog post dropped no wild accusations, just cold, hard facts. Reddit blew up, lawyers started weighing in, and even some conservatives admitted this is about transparency. Why can't we see her file? Melania's silence started looking more like avoidance than poise. I didn't gloat, didn't tweet about it. I told Edwin and Dana we don't chase this. Let the truth come to us. Outside, a small protest formed peaceful with signs reading "Fair means fair." I watched from my window, face unreadable. But the threats were creeping closer. A handwritten note showed up at my Dallas office saying, "Stay in your lane or we'll put you back in it." My aide's voice cracked, showing it to me over a video call. I locked my jaw. "Security seen it sent to Capitol Police," she confirmed. This wasn't just online noise anymore. Edwin noticed I wasn't sleeping or eating much. We made a dent. Maybe pivot housing infrastructure. I pulled out my files. If we let this breathe, it dies. The system counts on that. I ain't giving them the clock. The calls got uglier. A staffer's tires got slashed. I paused, fingers curling on my desk. They think they're warning me off, but they're just proving my point. Some get protected, others get punished. At a town hall in Fort Worth, I stepped out, no script, just me in the room. This ain't about one visa. It's about power, who gets to be here and who don't. A man in khakis raised his hand, voice low. If the system's broken, why not tear it down instead of dragging good people's names through the mud? The room tensed up. I met his gaze. Asking a question ain't dragging nobody. It's calling out how one story gets used to silence everyone else. You think that's the same thing? He gave a slight smile. You're dividing people. I stepped closer. What divides us is pretending we all start equal. My path and yours weren't lit the same way. If we don't admit that we keep lying, that struggling means you didn't try hard enough. He walked out. A kid in the crowd filmed it, posted it, 1 million views by the next morning. My line. Some get doors, others get gates hit raw. Comments poured in with stories, nurses waiting 18 years for a visa, dads deported over a paperwork error. News channels ran it on loop. My office got 342 media requests in one afternoon. I didn't bite. Instead, I was at a community center in Arlington, no cameras, just listening to constituents. A Guatemalan mom shared her 7-year visa wait. An Afghan translator stumbled through his story of endless delays. I took notes, promised to follow up. Dana handed me coffee. You could go viral every week and still not fix this. I looked up. Then I won't stop till someone does. By the end of the week, I'd become a litmus test. Cable news debated if I'd gone too far, but my refusal to chase fame gave me cred. In Seattle, a lawyer petitioned for EB-1 data. In Minneapolis, a Somali community center held an open mic for immigrant stories, giving me a shout-out. Even conservative corners cracked. A columnist wrote, "The visa system's a black box. Nobody likes that." Colleagues started leaning in. When Bryson texted, "Thank you, it needed saying." A former USCIS officer emailed, "I processed 4000 cases." If Crockett's asking, she's right to. We all should be. Tension at the White House was thick. Melania stayed quiet, but it wasn't poise anymore, it was deflection. I pushed a transparency bill, public criteria for high-level visas, clear timelines, hard stats. It won't pass yet, but it's a marker. A father from Fresno called my Dallas office. "My daughter saw your clip. She was quitting law school, thought nobody cared about folks like us. She changed her mind, said if they're listening now, she'd better speak up." I listened to that voicemail twice, sat quiet. All the threats, the turned-down interviews, the donors walking away, it all added up to something worth fighting for. At a committee hearing, someone asked, "Do you regret how far this has gone?" I leaned into the mic. I regret we gotta fight this hard just to ask a fair question. But no, I don't regret saying it out loud. On Capitol Hill, giving closing remarks for my bill, I stood at the podium, the chamber packed not for votes but out of curiosity. I've been called divisive, disrespectful, even unpatriotic for asking why the rules don't apply equal. I've been told to stay quiet, that asking about an EB-1 visa is personal. But what's personal is waiting 12 years for your mama because your job ain't deemed exceptional. It's watching your kid miss birthdays because paperwork stalled. It's being told to prove you belong after paying taxes for 15 years. I paused, my voice low but heavy. I didn't ask about one visa to tear anybody down. I asked because millions are told their sacrifices ain't enough, their dreams too small, their jobs too ordinary, their families too complicated. When someone with fame skips a process, others barely survive, and we're told to clap for it. That ain't unity, it's erasure. Some shifted in their seats, stared at the floor. This bill says the process should be public, clear, traceable. Nobody gets to hide behind privilege and call it the American way. I didn't come here to play it safe. I came to speak the truth. There was no big applause, just a heavy silence, the kind that means they heard me even if they won't admit it. The bill failed in committee, but a law student started a database for visa inconsistencies, and paralegals jumped in to help. Transparency ain't law yet, but it's moving. Melania's still quiet, and now folks ain't just asking if she followed the rules, they're asking who else had to, and why it took this long for anyone to question it. This ain't just my fight anymore. It's Marisol in Trenton, then in Bakersfield, Raina in Tucson, that girl in Fresno whose dad called to say thanks. It's a question that can't be ignored, and questions when they stick change things. If this hits you hard, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, ask your own questions. Truth don't need a spotlight, just someone with the guts to say it out loud. If this hits you hard, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, ask your own questions. Truth don't need a spotlight, just someone with the guts to say it out loud. And trust me, I ain't done speaking yet. What started as a single interview on a random Tuesday morning has turned into something way bigger than me or that studio. It's a wave now crashing into every corner of this country, from the border towns of Texas to the high-rises of Chicago, from rural diners in Nebraska to crowded subway cars in New York. People are talking, and not just in whispers no more. They're asking the hard questions I put out there, the ones that make folks in power squirm. And let me tell you, that's exactly where we need to be, making them uncomfortable till they can't ignore us no longer. A few days after that committee hearing, I got a call from a community organizer in San Diego named Carla. She's been working with immigrant families for over a decade, helping them navigate a system that seems designed to break them down. She told me, "Jasmine, I played your clip at a workshop last night. You should have seen their faces, moms, dads, even the kids. For the first time in a long time, they felt seen." One woman, Maria, broke down crying. She's been waiting 14 years for her husband's visa, working 2 jobs to keep her kids fed. And she said, "I thought I was the only one fighting this hard." Your words reminded her she ain't alone. Carla paused, her voice getting thick. "We're planning a rally next week, not just for Maria, but for everyone stuck in this mess. We're calling it Fair Means Fair, inspired by those protest signs outside your office. You lit a fire, Congresswoman. We're going to keep it burning." That call stuck with me. It's one thing to see hashtags and retweets, but hearing how my words reached into someone's life like that, it's heavy. It's a reminder of why I'm doing this, why I can't let the threats, the late-night hate mail, or the cold shoulders from some of my own party make me back down. Because while I'm sitting in D.C. pushing bills that might not pass this year, or even next, folks like Maria are living this fight every single day. They ain't got the luxury of waiting for the system to catch up to what's right. They need us to keep pushing now, to keep the pressure on, to make sure their stories don't get buried under political games and sound bites. And it ain't just organizers like Carla taking this and running with it. I've seen teachers in Atlanta using my interview in their classrooms, asking students to debate the idea of fairness in immigration. One high schooler, a 16-year-old named Jamal, whose parents came from Haiti, wrote me a letter. He said, "I always thought the American dream was real, till I saw my dad get turned down for a visa extension after 20 years of working construction here. He followed every rule, paid every tax, but it didn't matter. Watching you on TV calling out how the system picks and chooses made me want to do something. I'm starting a club at school to help immigrant kids share their stories. If you can speak up, so can we." I read that letter at my desk, and for a minute I just sat there. A kid like Jamal shouldn't have to fight this fight, but since he is, I'm damn sure going to keep fighting alongside him. Then there's the flip side, the folks who ain't cheering. I'm getting calls from constituents who voted for me, but ain't happy with how I'm handling this. One guy, Tom, from a small town outside Dallas, left a voicemail saying, "I respect you, Congresswoman, but why go after the First Lady like that? My family came here legally 2 years ago, and we worked hard for it. This feels like you're pitting us against each other." I called him back because I don't dodge the hard convos. I told him, "Tom, I hear you, and I'm glad your family made it through. But this ain't about pitting anybody against anybody. It's about asking why some folks get a fast lane while others are stuck in a traffic jam for decades. If the system worked for you, that's great, but it ain't working for millions. We gotta fix that, not pretend it ain't broke." He didn't fully agree, but he listened. And sometimes getting someone to just listen is the first step. The pushback ain't just coming from voters neither. Some of my colleagues in Congress, folks I've worked with for years, are giving me the side eye in the halls, whispering about how I'm rocking the boat at a time when we need unity. Unity for who, though? Not for the folks waiting years for a chance to hug their family. Not for the ones getting deported over a clerical error. I had a senior rep pull me aside after a meeting, saying, "Jasmine, you're making enemies you don't need. Tone it down, focus on winnable fights." I looked him dead in the eye and said, if winnable means ignoring the truth, I ain't interested. The folks I represent don't get to tone down their struggles, so neither will I. He walked off shaking his head, but I meant every word. I didn't come to D.C. to play it safe or collect pats on the back. I came to fight for what's right even when it's messy, even when it costs me allies. And yeah, the threats keep coming. My office got another note last week, this one saying you're tearing this country apart. Watch your back. My staff's on edge, security's been tightened, and Dana keeps checking in asking if I'm okay. Physically, yeah, I'm fine. Mentally, it's a grind. But I think about Marisol in Trenton watching my clip with her brother. I think about Than and May in Bakersfield, nodding along to my words. I think about that law student in Fresno who decided to keep going because she felt heard. If they're still in this, so am I. Ain't no note or slash tire gonna stop me from showing up for them. Meanwhile, the conversation ain't dying down. If anything, it's growing. In Miami, a group of Cuban immigrants held a panel discussion, streaming it live on social media, breaking down the EB-1 visa process and comparing it to their own decades-long waits. One speaker, a man named Eduardo, who's been a mechanic here for 25 years, said, I don't care who got what visa. I care that my son, who's a straight-A student, can't get a green card because we don't got the money or the fame. Crockett's right. Why don't we all get the same shot? That clip got shared thousands of times, adding fuel to the fire I started. In Portland, a small business owner, an Indian woman named Priya, posted a video saying, I waited 11 years for my visa, paid every fee, hired lawyers I couldn't afford. I'm not mad at anyone's success, but I'm tired of being told to be patient when others aren't asked to wait at all. Her story hit home for so many, racking up views and comments from folks saying same here or this is my family too. Even in places I didn't expect the ripples reaching. A pastor in rural Kentucky emailed me saying his congregation, mostly white, mostly conservative, had a heated debate after Sunday service about my words. Half of them thought you were too harsh, he wrote, but the other half started asking questions they never asked before. Like, why do some immigrants get treated like heroes and others like burdens? You got us thinking, even if we don't all agree. That's the point, ain't it? I don't need everyone to clap for me. I just need them to think, to question, to see the cracks in a system we've been told to accept as fair. Melania's camp is still quiet, and that silence is speaking louder every day. It ain't just about her anymore. It's about what her story represents, about who gets to be the face of the American dream and who gets left out of the picture. Journalists are digging deeper, not just into her visa, but into the whole EB-1 process, exposing how it's often a shortcut for the wealthy or well-connected. Legal experts are weighing in on cable news, breaking down stats, showing how rare it is for regular folks to even qualify. The more they talk, the more folks realize, I didn't just ask a question, I opened a door to a convo we've been dodging for too long. I'm working on a new piece of legislation now, not just the transparency bill, but something broader. It's a long shot, but it's aimed at cutting down wait times across the board, making sure no one's stuck in limbo for a decade just because they ain't got the right last name or bank account. I know it won't pass overnight. Hell, it might not pass in my lifetime, but I'm planting seeds. Every speech, every town hall, every late night meeting with advocates, I'm building ground for the next fight. Because this ain't a sprint, y'all. It's a marathon, and I'm in it for the long haul. So here's my ask to you. Don't just read this and move on. Don't just retweet a clip and call it a day. Dig into your own community, find out who's waiting, who's hurting, who's been told their dream don't matter. Show up for them. Write to your reps, not just me. Go to a rally like the one Carla's planning in San Diego. Start a club like Jamal in Atlanta. Share your story like Priya in Portland. Because change don't come from one voice in D.C. It comes from a chorus of y'all refusing to be quiet, refusing to accept a system that picks winners and losers based on who you know or what you got. I'll keep fighting up here, taking the heat, dodging the threats, pushing the bills. But I need y'all down there in the streets, in the schools, in the churches, keeping this alive. Truth don't just need someone to say it. It needs everyone to carry it. Let's carry it together.